Hi, this is Joseph Pate, better known as Medicare Joe, and in today's video we're going to talk about the prescription drug plan appointment and what that looks like with our team, as well as the number one exposure that Medicare prescription drug plans do not cover. So stay tuned. Hi, welcome back. Again, this is Joseph Pate, better known as Medicare Joe, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing the Medicare prescription drug plans, how that looks when you have an appointment with our team, as well as go over some of the exposures that the Medicare drug plans just do not cover. So if you're either coming to us from an already scheduled appointment, you have a one-on-one appointment coming up, or maybe you found us on YouTube as you were doing your Medicare education, be sure to click the red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. That's how you'll be notified of any other videos that we post. We do post different Medicare news and update videos from time to time. So again, in this short video, I'm going to try to make it about 10 minutes. You're going to see what the actual appointment conversation will look like during your one-on-one call. So not everyone's going to be able to see a visual perspective while they're having their one-on-one appointment phone call with one of our agents here. So I wanted to make this video so you can see what our agents are doing behind the scenes to get a better idea of how we're coming to the solutions that we're bringing to you for your prescription drug coverage. So let's dive right into it. And primarily how we start these calls out is we ask that all of our clients have a list of their prescription medications that they're taking. And what our agents are going to do on our end, we're going to take this list of medications and we are going to plug it into our plan finder tool. So as you can see here, I popped in a couple pretty common medications that we'll see from time to time: blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes medications, etc. And when we plug in these medications into the Plan Finder tool, what's going to happen is it's going to sort through all of the 20 to 25 different plans that are in your area, and it's going to put them in a list from best plan to worst plan based on your specific drug use. And you can see that here. It usually sorts it into like a top 5, top 4 list of what plan is going to be the best one for you. So as you can see here, there's a list of 4 plans that are listed from best to worst for your specific drug use. Now, before we dive into the plan details of what the actual copays cost, what the premiums are, etc., it's important that we understand the stages of the drug plan. So there's 4 stages of the drug plan. The first stage is what's called the initial coverage stage. And this is when you are just paying a copay for your medications. Most of you watching this are going to remain in this initial coverage stage for pretty much the whole year, if not 90% of the year. The next stage is what's called the deductible stage. Deductible meaning that you have to pay a deductible before the insurance carrier is going to cover anything for you. Again, this would come up if you're taking some maybe name brand medications. You might have a deductible stage that you have to meet. For most of you, you're going to avoid this as well if you're just taking generic medications. The third stage is what's called the coverage gap, or the donut hole, formerly known as the donut hole. And what happens here is once you accumulate $4,660 worth of medications, you go into your coverage gap or your donut hole. And in this time, you're paying a 25% coinsurance for your medication. And then the last stage is what's called the catastrophic coverage stage. And this is at $7,400 worth of retail cost. And when you're in this stage, you're actually paying 5% of the retail cost of your medications. You're going to want to stick around for the end of the video here when I explain this and show you why this can be the number one exposure for seniors on a drug plan. Now, most of you, again, are going to remain in that initial coverage stage, maybe possibly jump into that deductible stage. But I'm going to go over how this breaks down and what it can look like with actual medications that you can be taking. So pulling up this here, this breakdown, this first one that I have, we're looking at very basic generic medications. There's three that are here: metformin, amlodipine, and rosuvastatin. So this is what our agents will actually look at, and you can see that the metformin and the amlodipine are considered generic tier 1 medications. And for tier 1 medications, as you can see, there's no copay in the initial coverage stage. Amlodipine, same thing, no copay. The rosuvastatin would be a $5 copay because it's a tier 2 medication. So for most people, this is how it's going to look. You're going to have your very basic medications. They're either going to be free or potentially a $5 copay at most. And this is a pretty generic plan. Figure about a $10 per month premium. Again, we're not talking specifics because just due to compliance issues, I want to make this a educational, broad overview of what you can expect on those calls. So let's look at maybe a little bit more expensive plan due to someone taking name brand medications. So let me pull up that breakdown, what that can look like. So let's say we have the same medications we were taking before, but now this client is also taking a name brand medication, Eliquis, which is a blood thinner. As you can see here, that's a tier 3 medication, so it's a little bit higher end tier. And with this plan, this is a little bit more of an expensive plan. You're looking at maybe about a $60 per month cost on this plan. The reason I wanted to bring this breakdown up here is so you can see what happens throughout the year with the Eliquis. The Eliquis starts off in the initial coverage stage at a $47 copay. But what happens is come October, November, and December, this client will actually go into their coverage gap because the retail cost of the medication, it retails for $600 a month, they go into their donut hole. And now they have to pay 25% coinsurance for this medication, which is about $150 a month for this one medication. So with this person, they go into their coverage gap for November and December. They're in that donut hole paying 25% of the cost, but they never come out of it because they're not filling enough medications to get to that $7,400 retail cost for the catastrophic coverage. Now, in here you can see that there's other tiers. It shows tier 3 is a $47 copay. It says tier 4 is a 50% coinsurance, and tier 3 is a 33% coinsurance. So this is what I really wanted to focus on. These higher tier medications, specifically tier 5 medications. And I wanted to go over this category because a lot of medications that we see fall into that tier 5 are going to be oral chemotherapy medications. And this is really where Medicare falls short on prescription drug coverage. 1 in 2 men get cancer, 1 in 3 women get cancer. Unfortunately, the odds aren't great. The good thing about people being diagnosed with cancer nowadays is they're actually living through it, which is great. The other side of that is now that they're living through it, they typically have to take medications, either chemo or oral medications to help when they're in remission. And one of my close family members actually goes through this right now. So unfortunately, cancer, again, one of those things that because the medications are so expensive, Medicare still falls short on the coverages for what they're going to provide. I mean, these medications are tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm going to show you an example here of what that can look like. God forbid it ever happened, to you. So in this breakdown here, you're going to see I pulled out the Eliquis just to make this easier of a breakdown. So this client, they're going to have the same generic medications, but as you can see here, there's an oral chemotherapy pill called Venclexta. This is a tier 5 medication. It retails at $15,622 a month. That's the retail cost of this medication. Now, if you remember when we were talking about the catastrophic stage, that happens at $7,400 in a calendar year. Okay? So what happens with this person is they go into their donut hole, they come out of their donut hole in the first month on this medication. that cost, as you can see here illustrated, is going to be about $3,400 for that 1 month. And then what happens every month after that is they go into their catastrophic stage. And while they're in their catastrophic stage, this medication is going to cost them $781 every single month for the rest of the year. So a lot of folks, when we're going over the tier 5 in the catastrophic stage, you say, well, 5% is not that bad. But when you take 5% of a $15,000 medication, as you can see here, it starts to add up at almost $800 a month to fill that. So what's the solution, or what's the best way to avoid this exposure on a drug plan? And that's what I want to show you here. There's no solution, if you will, but there's a way to help alleviate the cost of this exposure. And that's something I'm extremely passionate about. Anybody who has a Medicare prescription drug plan or even a Medicare Advantage plan, you're going to end up in this catastrophic stage when it comes to these oral chemotherapy pills. And that's why you should have a cancer rider. Basically, what the cancer rider or cancer plan does, and the way that it works, is if you're diagnosed with cancer at any point, they cut you a check for $10,000. It's as simple as that. You can use the funds however you wish. It's your money to use it how you want. The need for it, though, is going to come up to fill these types of medications if, God forbid, you were prescribed any type of oral chemotherapy pills. Now, the best part about the cancer rider, in my opinion, is they are simple in the way that they work, but they're also affordable. For a $10,000 benefit, it's about $25 a month. In some states, it might even be a little bit less, closer to $20. So I'm a numbers guy. That's my background. As we do out the math, you have a $25 a month premium for this rider times 12 months. That's $300 a year in premium. The benefit that will be paid out if you're diagnosed with cancer is $10,000. So the break-even point on this, meaning that the amount of premium you'd have to spend before you outpaid the policy itself, would be 33 years and not be diagnosed with cancer in that time frame. Now, obviously, everybody, I hope, lives 33 years. That'd be great. But in reality, one of two things are going to happen, during that time. One, you're going to be diagnosed with cancer in that time, and you're going to make money on the policy, or you're going to pass away due to something else, possibly, or old age, and never be diagnosed with cancer, and that's probably the best case scenario. So let's take a look at how this would break down, because you're going to actually go over this with one of our agents here on your appointment call. You're going to have the actual drug plan by itself. So let's just say you're just taking those generic medications maybe, and the $10 drug plan is going to be the best one for you. You have a $10 prescription drug plan premium. You're covered for those generic medications as we went over, but you still have that exposure. God forbid you need to fill these cancer medications. Or you can have your drug plan and add the cancer rider to the policy for, again, about $25 a month. And God forbid you're on the wrong side of that 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women, they cut you a check for $10,000. And if you're watching this and you're saying, well, $10,000, that's not really enough in my opinion. They have these riders that go all the way up to about $50,000 in a payout. The higher the benefit level, the more the premium is. So, from our conversations of people getting onto Medicare, we find that typically the $10,000 benefit is usually what is going to be the best suited for somebody, as well as match, what they're looking to spend in their budget for insurance. So let's talk about the kicker. Obviously, with insurance, there always is one, right? So when I go over this with some folks and they say, well, okay, this sounds like a good policy, but can I wait to add this maybe a couple of years from now? I just had my screening. I don't think I'm going to have cancer in the next year. So the way that these plans will work is they're underwritten policies. So you can wait as long as you want to wait to buy them, but you can't add them once you've had cancer. So one of the questions that they ask is, have you had cancer or been under discovery for potential cancer in the last 5 years? So if you put it off, at the time of the conversation, that's fine. If you want to add it at a later date, but you're going to have to make sure that you haven't been diagnosed with cancer or went through any type of discovery for potential cancer. The second thing is that these plans are what's called issue age plans. They will lock you in at the rate, the premium, at the age at which you buy the plan. So if you're watching this, most of you watching this are probably 64, looking to age into Medicare. They will lock you in at the 64-year-old rate if you buy it at 64. Once you turn 65, or if you wait to add this rider after 65, they lock you in at that rate. So at 65, once you turn 65, it's usually about $5 more per month in premium. So if this is an exposure that you want covered, if you feel that that premium is within budget, the best time to do it is before you turn 65 on your appointment with one of our agents. They can clear up any questions that you may have about the product, but just as a recap for today's video, because I want to make sure you're good to go for your appointment, we discussed what you can expect on your prescription drug call, how that'll look. We went over the stages of the drug plan, what's the number one exposure with prescription drug plans, and why I always recommend adding the cancer rider to a drug plan. So make sure on your appointment, if you have questions, you bring that up to your agent. Again, if you enjoyed this video or took any value from it at all, please hit that like button in the bottom right-hand corner. The way that YouTube works is the more likes a video has, the more popular it becomes, the more people that will be able to see it. We want to educate as many people as possible, so if you did like it or got any value from the content today, please hit that like button. And again, if you want to be notified when we post new YouTube videos, whether it's Medicare news or updates, hit that red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. You will be notified as we post new videos from time to time. Any questions, you're welcome to comment below or drop a comment down there on what you thought of the video. Again, this is Medicare Joe. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch our prescription drug plan and cancer video here today. Again, we're here to make Medicare simple. Take care.